The new French Extreme, or Extremity, came around during my high school years. It was sort of a defining moment for my education of the modern horror landscape. And the one movie that introduced me to the French nihilism came from the great Alexandre Aja. Now, the one movie from this particular subgenre that crossed the pond and had a deep effect on me was, of course, High Tension. Directed by Alexandre Aja and written by Garabedian and Aja himself, it's a simple story based around a home invasion and subsequent chase. There's a vibe here that I've rarely seen before or after. A cynical brutality mixed with striking beauty. Toss in one of the most underrated villains, and you get the French at some of their most punk rock. Brutal and unrelenting. And it's why this has a flawless 4K transfer. Why it's on the list for the best French horror movies. And why Aja has had a long-running career as a director and writer. So for those who've been curious, I promise it's worth a blind viewing. And for everyone else, of course, spoilers lie ahead. So let's journey back to the simpler times of 2003 and explore the French countryside as I delve into the defining scene of High Tension.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
Now, just to kind of get this out of the way, I will do my best with the French names, but I am from the Midwest. I say Notre Dame, not Notre Dame, so let's, curb our expectations here. A while back, I covered Aja's American debut with the remake of Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. The reason he got the gig was Wes saw High Tension, and it was the savage and ruthless nature that impressed him. So I figured, hey, let's look back on what put Aja on the map. But first, let's address the elephant in the room. I hate the twist. It's always bothered me. The movie doesn't do enough to clarify the perspective and makes everything built prior sort of lame and nonsensical. Back when this came out, I went to the barren wasteland that is Joliet to see High Tension, as it was one of the only theaters around showing it. After reading the Arrow's review, I decided to check it out. I was annoyed, let down, and frankly kind of pissed. Yet, days later, it was still with me. It was stuck. I kept thinking about it. I kept going back. There were so many moments of brilliance, poetic shot compositions, and hand-to-God, actually effective nail-biting tension. Marie being the killer in this edit just doesn't work. I think we all agree. Yet the execution of everything else is done with a level of care that I can't and won't let the twist ruin everything around it. I know for some it's a deal breaker, and honestly, I can't fault you if that's your position. But man, this hits. Not to mention, for a little clarification, Aja is on postmortem with Mick Garris and explain the original idea of the twist. The police are interviewing Marie about the events, and the movie plays out as normal. For then the gas station footage to come back showing Marie and not the killer. And so the big difference here is that the first half of the movie was told through an unreliable narrator. And then of course after said twist, things would continue on with her as the killer. So instead of this kind of confusing perspective of, where Marie really is, how can she be driving and also chasing, where does the van come from, it's all a big lie. It's a sell. She's selling the cops her story to then get caught in the middle of it. It's a small change, but through editing, this would give the twist the right amount of weight. Since it's telling us Marie has been lying and the first act is just a fabrication of one trying to avoid prosecution. But in this universe, we didn't get that ending, and so, yeah, the twist is lame. But I'm here to pitch to you on why it doesn't matter. If you can just accept it, and I know some can't, but if you can, and focuses on what works, High Tension f***ing rocks. Philippe Noun plays the mostly silent, towering killer with a screen presence and gravitas that should put him in the same league as the other single-entry villains. I mean, yeah, he doesn't technically exist, but whatever an alter ego or manifestation this is, well, it's on point. His sweaty, swollen face, bulbous nose, heavy breathing, unkempt hair. The killer is fully realized without any information on personality, motive, or life outside the story. The idea of this creep driving around in a literal murder van, getting head from head. Everything about him is unsettling, the perfect representation of a serial killer. And if I could, I'd argue the defining scene is probably the opening at the farmhouse, but it's kind of a cheat because it's not a scene, it's basically the first act. But I want to say that in this section, we get some of the best kills, fantastic practical effects, and one of the most intense stalking sequences of the last 20 plus years. The small things have always kind of stuck with me in this. Him checking the radiator for warmth, seeing if the water faucet was recently used, taking out both the dog and the kid. The intelligence behind this killer, built like a brick house looking for a sign of life. I don't care if this gets muddled later on. This entire section is a masterclass in horror execution, and is something quite rare. It gives us an almost comic level of gore, yet executes it with a level of realism that somehow still gives it weight. You see, we're never cheering on the killer, even if he's damn near over the top in this. But then, what is the scene that gives High Tension its moniker? Well, this may surprise you, but it's the scene of the reveal. The switch of personalities that makes everything in this, faults and all, its own. And again, yes, it's dumb. Okay, 100% agree. Yet even with this misstep, the execution of it was handled with nothing but absolute grit. Marie, with a truck she, found, emerges with a circular saw and zero to give. And since said killer is a manifestation of her sexual repression, he comes to life with a vigor only horniness can bring. This chase scene has everything that makes High Tension work, all in one scene. It is this flick's defining moment. Okay, so let me set this up. Marie has finally defeated the killer and goes to the van to free Alex, his one hostage. And we get the silly twist and realize Marie is the killer, and this giant creepy man is just a part of her split personality. And once he's awakened, it's all or none at this point. Aja masterfully orchestrates this scene, this chase, one of tension, dread, and visceral intensity, set against the backdrop of a desolate rural landscape. A pivotal moment that encapsulates the raw power of suspense. Philippe Naun, doing my best guys, nails it as the other side of Marie, and grabbing the saw, yelling out in frustration, it's a chef's kiss. Followed by an epic forest chase that gives us one of the most iconic kills. I mean, you gotta think about this. Some poor sap stops to help Alex. This is the most French looking f***er. Sleazy, sweaty, smoking. It just gets it. And the moment that hooked me, or one of them, was when this poor Frenchman is disemboweled, and the blood backsplash soaking Alex as she screams in utter fear. Absolutely beautiful. It's on the back of the DVD, and rightfully so. Just pure panic. And I can't show the kill, but in terms of practical effects, it's one of the best. Think about it, her best friend, someone she trusted deep in her soul, ends up murdering her entire family, and the one chance at escape, really, must have seemed like a guarantee, at least momentarily, ends in panic with a blood-curdling scream. Aja utilizes dynamic camera shots to convey the urgency and desperation. You feel the intensity. There's a sense of disorientation, mirroring Marie's frantic pursuit of her friend-turned-captor, Alex. Alex limping away, and Marie is right behind her. This ending chase stands as a testament to Aja's prowess as a director. Though I'd like to actually give a little bit of credit to what I consider the masterful cinematography by Maxine Alexandre, giving this a real down-to-earth look. Say what you want about the American torture porn subgenre, but we never got as pretty and as angelic as the French did. Aja cements High Tension as a modern masterpiece of suspenseful filmmaking. And if you could get over the big issue in the movie, and again, I get if you can't, but if you can, I promise there's something here that we don't see too often. And I'll be arguing in favor of this movie until the day I die.
Seems like the world is moving on. Didn't stop to look around. Didn't give a shit if you're crashing down. You can close your eyes but not your skin. Don't believe what you refuse to see. Won't find a way in. Well, I can't ignore a certain thing. Love is all